His co-creator, Larry David, sat down with NBC's Bob Costas at the U.S. Comedy and Arts Festival in Aspen, Colorado. It's the first interview Seinfeld has given since the show's finale, a show that everybody talked about the next day. Strange for a show that was supposed to be about nothing.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing. I was in the pool! I was in the pool!
Do you want a Christmas card? All right, here. Here's your Christmas card.
I'm out there, Jerry, and I'm loving every minute of it.
So you think you're sponge-worthy?
She had man hands.
He's a regifter.
She's a two-face.
She's got the Jimmy legs.
She's one of these low talkers.
You know, because he's a high talker.
Bit of a close talker. So everybody I know is a character on the show.
Right.
And it's about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
What percentage of the plot lines came out of at least the germ of something that really happened?
Well, of course, I was in a contest with a friend of mine, so that was based on reality.
A contest to be the master of your own domain?
Yes.
What would lead someone to make such a wager?
I wanted to
He's a very competitive guy.
Well, I know I could hold out longer than you.
Care to make it interesting?
Sure, how much?
$100?
You're on.
Wait a second. Count me in on this.
You? Yeah. You'll be out before we get the check.
Other than just holding everyone to Scout's honor, how do you really check?
Well,
how do you know? Who's the referee?
You don't know, as Jerry said in that scene. It's
The honor system?
the honor system, right.
And then
And I don't think you would want any other system in place, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, look, I'll tell you what. I'll give you $50. Now, be reasonable. You cannot turn down $50 for a $6 rye.
No. Watch me.
Stop it. I want that ride, lady.
Help! Someone help!
Shut up, you old pig.
Did you ever wonder if you'd gotten too dark? Did you ever look back at an episode and say, went too far?
Oh, yeah.
He's shaking his head no. You say, oh.
I didn't.
Yeah, a couple
Really?
of times I thought.
Like where?
When?
You know, I always had a problem with that wheelchair. The guy, Elaine feeding the guy in the wheelchair.
Yankee bean, Yankee bean, I like my Yankee bean.
But, you know, that was fine, you know. It was fun to go over the line.
One of the best remembered episodes is where George rejoices that he's out of a marriage he was getting cold feet about because his fiancée dies from licking so many envelopes on the wedding invitation because he bought these cheap invitations, and now he's rejoicing in her death.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
a hell of a
funny.
premise, isn't it?
That is funny.
Now that's comedy.
Yeah, that's comedy.
Yeah, we got a lot of mail about that. People
People were
really,
upset.
yeah. My mother was extremely upset. How could you kill that girl? What's the matter with you? Why did you do that? And then she saw it in syndication, and she called me up. You know, I really like that show. It was very funny.
Listen to this. Marcy comes over and she tells me that her ex-boyfriend was over late last night and yada, 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 I'm really tired today. You don't think she'd yada, yada sex?
I've yada-yada sex. Yeah. I met this lawyer. We went out to dinner. I had the lobster bisque. We went back to my place. Yada, yada, yada. I never heard from him again.
But you yada yada over the best part.
No, I mentioned the bisque.
Maureen Dowd wrote about a year ago in the New York Times an article headlined Yada Yada Yuppies. Part of the article was, quoting an editor from the New Republic, Seinfeld is the worst last gasp of Reaganite, grasping, materialistic, narcissistic, banal self-absorption. It is the apotheosis of yuppiedom.
This is someone who has never seen Shakespeare. If you've ever seen, you know, A Midsummer Night's Dream, it's the same thing. All these people, self-motivated, conniving, tricking each other. This is classic comedy.
That's
This is
a really
someone
that's a very good point.
knows nothing about comedy. The whole idea that we came up with selfish self-motivated behavior, like we invented that. It's really pretty ridiculous.
Elaine, what percentage of people would you say are good looking?
25%?
25%? Mm-hmm. No way, it's like 4 to 6%. It's a 20 to 1 shot.
You're way off.
Way off?
Yeah.
Have you been to the Motor Vehicle Bureau? It's a leper colony down there.
Was there ever a time when, for whatever reason, you went against your own philosophy? Somebody was redeemed when they shouldn't have been?
No. No, I can't. I don't think so. There was one moment, but it was unavoidable.
What was it?
It was in the second season. Jerry and Elaine got together, and
Was that the deal?
yeah, the deal. And it was her birthday, and Jerry didn't buy her a birthday present, and she got a little emotional.
Well, they had agreed. They had once been romantically involved, and they agreed that they would be lifelong friends, but then they had to negotiate circumstances under which they could have sex.
Right.
And
They're
then
very selfish people.
Yeah.
And very, I mean, it's characteristic of that Reaganite era.
Yeah.
Because all those Reaganites
All
were
the
always
Reaganites.
cutting those kind of deals, weren't they?
That was their trademark, yeah.
I thought Casper Weinberger and James Baker were all about that. Ed Meese, that's what Ed Meese was about, cutting a deal
All
like
over
that.
his face.
We're not gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, of course not.
I mean, it's fine if that's who you are.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have many gay friends.
My father's gay.
Look, I know what I heard.
Heard. It was a joke.
All right, look, you want to have sex right now? Do you want to have sex with me right now?
If the show had a philosophy, people came to believe the philosophy was no hugging, no learning. In spite of yourself, did you learn anything?
I learned how to write a half-hour show.
What'd you learn?
Everything. I mean, neither of us had really been in any sort of formal show business. I mean, when you're a comic, it's kind of like being a carnival worker. You know, you're just kind of out there. It's really very unregulated world. But suddenly there were executives and networks and cameras and production, you know, things that we had to learn, and we learned all that stuff. I mean, we knew about sets and
editing,
actors and casting, and we didn't know anything. And now we know more than anyone.
So we go into NBC, we tell them we got an idea for a show about nothing.
Exactly.
They say, what's your show about? I say nothing.
There you go.
I think you may have something here.
Tomorrow, in part 2 of that conversation, Jerry talks about the criticism he received about the final episode, what he's doing now, and if he'd ever return to do another sitcom. It's 7:50. We're back in a moment with more on this Wednesday morning, but first...
Almost a year since Seinfeld went off the air. Its final episode was one of the most watched programs in television history. But that last show got mixed reviews. Now, for the first time, Jerry Seinfeld and the show's co-creator, Larry David, talk about that, among other things, in part 2 of their conversation with Bob Costas.
Will the defendants please rise? And how do you find with respect to the charge of criminal indifference?
We find the defendants guilty.
The last episode, as you look back on it, are you happy with it?
I was happy with it, but apparently some people weren't. And I can't understand why. I thought it had all the elements for a final episode.
You tried to pull all the elements that had been part of the show for almost a decade together and at least make a nod toward them in one episode.
Yeah. I tried to, I tried to write a finale. I don't know what people objected to.
The reviews were mixed, and one thing that was often heard was, well, it was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as the general standard of the show. How much did that sting?
We weren't doing the show. That wasn't an episode of the show. That was a special. And it was, you know, this is not an easy thing to do, to wrap up a show, because the show doesn't, there is no natural conclusion to these 4 people's lives, unless you wanted to kill them all, which everyone thought we were going to do, or, you know. And when Larry told me the idea that they would end up in prison, it just seemed like a really funny thing to have happen to them after them being so selfish.
I can think of nothing more fitting than for the 4 of you to spend a year removed from society, so that you can contemplate the manner in which you have conducted yourselves. I know I will. This court is adjourned.
Do you think it was losing altitude in terms of quality? And is that part of the reason why you got out?
No. No, it was because it hadn't yet. And I knew it was inevitable that it would. I mean, our ratings went up in the 9th year. The show was more popular than it was in the 8th year. And so, no, I thought the shows were consistent.
Did you worry about resentment directed toward you through no fault of your own? Well, geez, if a guy gets this much coverage and this much hype, nobody can be that good, therefore we got to take him down a peg.
Well, we went through that many times on the show. There were several cycles of that. And we would watch it happen. It'd be really funny. One critic would write a slash piece, and everybody would go, hey, there's a new story. We could say, is Seinfeld as good as it used to be? Yeah, that's a good question. And they would all write the same piece, and it would just gather steam, and then it would dissipate, and then a couple years would go by, and they'd try it again. But they have no real effect on the audience. That was the great thing about comedy, is when you have a relationship with the audience, no critic can tell you, you're not enjoying this. You know, they would try and sabotage us, but they couldn't.
Dry clean only is definitely the only warning label that human beings actually respect. You know, they'll look at cigarettes, this will give you cancer, kill you, kids, everything else, screw it. I'll do whatever the hell I want. Don't drink this medicine and operate heavy machinery. Oh, glug, 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 who cares? That's for people that don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm a pro. But if you have something that's dry clean only and somebody goes to put it in the wash machine, don't put it in the wash machine, it's dry clean only, you're crazy, out of your mind!
Shortly after the final episode of Seinfeld, you do an HBO special in New York where you do your stand-up act. It's called I'm Telling You for the Last Time, and you publicly vow that you are putting all this material, which had served you well for a long time, putting all this material to bed. So we will never hear any of those jokes again.
All the material, even the stuff I didn't do on the show, everything I had ever written up to that point is now done.
Now, several months later, how much new material have you either written or has just popped into your head?
I'm kind of on vacation right now, so...
So you can shut it down?
No, I just don't cultivate it. It's like it's there, but, you know, in comedy you get ideas, then you have to, you know, kind of develop them. But I'm just resting right now.
When will you go back on stage with stand-up?
Pretty soon, in a few months.
Oh, I'm sorry, we have no midsize available at the moment.
I don't understand. I made a reservation. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of cars.
But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservation.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car. See, you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the holding. Anybody can just take them.
Do you watch the reruns now?
I watch them when I can.
And what do you think?
Oh, it really tickles me. I like it.
Jerry?
We really overachieved, I think. Whenever we look back on it, you know, I don't know how the hell we did it or why it came out so good, but it was a pretty amazing group of people that suddenly found ourselves in the same place at the same time. And it was pretty neat that people got it.
Could you ever see yourself doing another sitcom?
No. To do what? To accomplish what? Ruin it all?
Ruin it all. See, I like that idea.
Of coming back specifically to ruin
like
it all.
the whole concept of ruining it all.
Yeah.
You know? And now that you've planted that in my head, I'm going to think about it.
Of gratuitously tearing down what had taken so long to build up.
Yeah, it's just so perfect.
Right, yeah.
Don't you think?
That is attractive.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate act of self-loathing and self-destruction.
I love it. I love it.
Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld. It is now 7:50. This is Today on NBC.